Hi guys! Thanks very much for joining me today, and thank you to all my new subscribers. I think I had 4 or 5. Anyway, in today's episode we have a chat with a One Hive member, Bella, who is an absolute star. I've got Blondie, and I've got my man Vaughn with me. Absolute great chat. We really delve into modding, but we have an exclusive from Nadis. Yes, that's right. In this episode, there is an exclusive message from Nadis. It's worth having a look at it, and hopefully it will help you decide whether you're going to continue to mod or not. In the background, we're going to have some war replays from the 3-star circus, which is our Fair Play clan. I'm still trying to decide what Nadis looks like. I've posted a picture of what I think he looks like. I'm sure you've got an image in your own head of what he looks like, but this is what I think he looks like. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoy this episode. I've split it because it was a rather long chat. It was almost an hour and a half. I put half an hour up here, which is us having a laugh and delving into some quite serious issues. I'll warn you in advance, there is some explicit discussion in here. Anyway, I'm going to hand you over to this conversation. Enjoy it, enjoy the replays. Catch you later guys. On with the show.
Yeah, so Bella, tell us a bit about yourself.
All right, my main is at Town Hall 9 in One Hive. I've been in One Hive for about over a year now. I also have a few more other accounts that are warring always. Faked Wargasm, Clash Life 4, Brute Type Phantoms, Lunatics, One Hive Prime. So yeah, I'm just pretty much a cock addict. Love the game.
What? Sorry, what was the last bit?
Cock addict.
Oh, okay. I was going to get a T-shirt that says that.
I prefer the term cock slut, but you know, either way.
Yeah. I was gonna. We once did a war, and the challenge was that if you lost the war, you had to go into gay bar saying "I love cock." So you had to wear a T-shirt that has "I love cock" on it. That was the challenge. So there you go, and we won. So I didn't have to do that.
Did you get proof that the people that lost actually went through with it?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes,
I think that's what you should post. That is the background of this YouTube video.
What, I love cock?
No, the proof of someone being in that situation.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. They're all married people as well, so they're all heterosexual men in a gay bar saying "I love cock" with their
free drinks all night.
That's it. Free drinks of semen. Right.
I mean, they're heterosexual as far as you know. They could be, they could be modding. They could be modding their heterosexuality.
They could be. It could all just be a front, couldn't it, Blondie?
Yes, you never really know.
No, you don't know unless you look at their device.
Yes.
Right.
So if you're modding your heterosexuality, what can you see that no one else can see?
That's
Vaughn,
really
you're getting
question.
too deep.
That's a good question. What do you think, Vaughn? I don't know. What are you hinting towards?
I don't know. Maybe it's like a secret gaydar.
I love gaydars. Anyway, so let's chat about some. Okay, so it's been pretty crazy the last week. A lot of people have been on holiday for 2 weeks, and there's been a lot of students and people have had a lot of studying to do for 2 weeks. So how's it been out there, guys? Have you seen many people going on holiday and having study break?
I was so nervous, I'm not gonna lie. After the band started, and our war day began, I was so scared. It just really ruined my day. I was so scared that my friends weren't gonna show up. You know what I mean? It sucked. It was a really shitty feeling. But we made it through. Everybody showed up, so that was great. I was very happy. I have some friends on the other side, and I do have empathy for them. It's really hard, and I think that they're adjusting and adapting and, creating their fair play rosters, people who aren't banned, who are going to commit to playing fair play, and so they're just moving on with their game.
So was One Hive impacted at all by the ban?
Not that I know of, no. Nobody missed their attacks. Everybody's shown up. I mean, we've had, there's the revolving door in One Hive is so great. It always has been. We get guys come in and go all the time. Just it's a regular thing. So it's hard to tell if it's, if, somebody leaving to go to another clan, if it's, has anything to do. I just am not worrying about it too much, Just glad everyone's using their attacks.
So some of Jake's tweets this week have been very triumphant in their tone. What's the general tone and the demeanor inside One Hive, inside the game, and inside the offline chats as far as the reaction to Supercell's ban initiative?
Well, personally, I'm just relieved that I don't have to have that barrier up kind of because you don't know who you can trust, who's being honest. You know what I mean? It's really uncomfortable. So that is kind of a really nice thing. It's just we're all on the same playing field. You don't have to question anybody. You know what I mean? But I guess that's probably where that feeling comes from, that triumphant, victorious feeling, because it is such a fucking relief not to have to watch your back and wonder if the guy next to you. You know what I mean?
Well, we do. We had a long discussion on the previous podcast about Operation Wheat, and
heartbreaking.
the recognition that he came out as a closet modder, and we actually we're going to try to have him on the show today, and he couldn't make it. Hopefully, we'll line him up for a different show, and perhaps the two of you can have some kind of death match on the same podcast. That would be awesome. But
we already had that one.
No, it seemed like it was interesting timing because Jake was sending out some. He was foreshadowing in some of his tweets that the banning was coming, and then you had the Operation Wheat news drop, and I was kind of curious on how that may have impacted morale inside One Hive, and how morale is now on the other side of the fair play situation. So it's an interesting perspective you give there.
I have a lot of feelings about Wheat because I was in One Hive when he joined, and we've been friends, and he went to Houston Live, and so you just kind of feel like the people who went to Houston Live were fair play, but obviously not. He is very young. Unfortunately, I can't resume my friendship with him only because of the way he went about handling coming out. I just felt like he kind of made us all look bad, and that wasn't fair. His lying and deceiving everyone, had nothing to do with us, and I felt like he kind of brought us down with him. So I unfortunately can't continue my friendship with him. I just feel like it was kind of callous and unthoughtful, and he's just young. I think that's just something you kind of learn with age of, how to, and we did have a conversation. He didn't talk to anyone about doing, I think sometimes when you bounce ideas off of someone, say it out loud, you can kind of see if it's a good or bad idea, and he did not do that, and I think it would have been a good idea to do that because he did break a lot of friendships. Just with the announcement, if you're closet modding and you walk away with your head down, it might suck to keep that on your conscience, but there's no reason to pull us all down with you. We had no clue, you know what I mean? He was not 3-starring all the time. I don't know. I'm in the clan with him. It was just there. I had no idea he was modding.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find it interesting listening to you guys because, I was so absorbed in my own game for such a long time, and only recently have I felt doubt into the Clash community. And it seems that a lot of friendships have been established on a common ground. So a lot of friendships have been established on Clash of Clans or with the game in mind. And what you were saying there is, it affected an actual friendship. Was this a friendship that you just had in game sort of thing, or did it actually affect real life? Is this
no, just an in-game friendship. But I mean those that severed those ties. You know what I mean? That's just no longer a person I want to be involved with anymore. So.
Yeah, I seen a picture of him. He looks kind of happy, jolly fella.
He's a sweet young guy. Yeah, he is. And don't get me wrong. I have friends that are modders. You know what I mean? I just don't like the way he handled the situation, going live or public on Twitter with it. And I don't know.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was an interesting breakup letter.
Yeah.
That there's one thing to be closet modding in One Hive, who has really tried to hold itself as the paragon of the fair play community. I thought the breakup letter was very interesting because he gave a lot of props to One Hive. Talked about the time he had there, and then I think you're right. I think he exposed his age towards the end of it because he ended up making the letter all about himself towards the end of it. And to me, it was like saying that. it's like writing your wife that you're divorcing a letter, and it's like, dear wife, thank you so much for all the wonderful time that we've spent together. We shared so many fond memories. We've got a couple of good kids. I'm sure you'll be a great mother in the future. And oh, by the way, I've been fucking your sister for the last 2 years.
Yes, like that, exactly. Yeah, it did feel like a big fuck you. Yeah, to our, not to the one high fair play policy, but to the friendships, the
Yeah.
relationships, the trust, the bonds, whatever.
So has he quit the game now?
Oh no. I think some of his accounts are banned, but I think he has like 8 of them, so I'm sure he's playing on one of them, fair play.
He's in Clash Heads. That's not fair, or is it?
No, we won't have him.
No. So, there's been so much happening with the mod community, and I've been keeping a really close eye on it, and I have got the exclusive message from Nadis on where he is with his counter or development or war. It's kind of like he's kind of like having a clan war with Supercell. That's how I like to look at it. And he's released a little statement. I'll give it to you in a second, but I'm just having a look at Xmod. Now, I haven't used Xmod before, and I'm not really over familiar with their... I'm just having a look at it online here. I'm not overly familiar with how they work. I'm guessing it's exactly the same way ha.noi works or worked, or it's a similar kind of back-end program. But the sort of stuff they're saying on here on their Twitter feed is to try and encourage people to keep using Xmod and trying to say that it's safe to do so, which is really risky because I don't think they can. I think that Supercell have got something that they don't know how the detection system works, and I think that if you use Xmod, I think you're stuffed. I think they will find out and you will get banned. So I don't know. Have you what are you guys hearing out there? Is a ton of Xmodders, iModders being banned? What's the deal here? It sounds like there's been literally thousands. It'd be interesting to see their stats on how many people are actually playing the game now. There's been a massive ban.
I'm looking in this chat, trying to understand what's going on, but it's really hard for me to understand. Here she says not as fixed mod detection, and it says there's an update. It says cock mod, no jailbreak, game version updated 2016 5.1. I don't know. And she's saying she wants to test it on a burner. I think people are still trying, but then they're also have their fair play war list. Like this one I'm looking at has 12 people on it. Fair play war list, and I think the rest of them are all banned. So that's all that's left.
Okay, well, let's get straight to the Nadis exclusive then. So the point being that this is my stance on Nadis. I think that, and we had this conversation in the last podcast, I've in some ways I've got sympathy for the guy because he's done a lot of work within the community, and yeah, whether you're fair play or not, he was able to exploit a really tough game to play back to back. So you couldn't play Clash of Clans back to back like Call of Duty or anything. If you're a hardcore gamer, it's a really tough game to pick up and play and then put down for a few hours and then come back. You either got to spend money or you had to mod in order to play the game hardcore. So that's the kind of angle I'm coming from here with my view on mod. So Nadis obviously created this program. Full respect to the guy for doing it, and I'm messaging him to and fro for about a week now and trying to get, I would love to get him to come on, but I'm not so sure his English is great, and I'd even looked at getting a translator on and various things, but he sent me a message yesterday, and this is what he said. He said this is a message that he wants released. Technically, it can be an endless war between modding and anti-modding. Client-side detection can be patched. Then Supercell might add new detection code in another update. The real problem is players only get one chance. That makes me wonder if I've lost this war no matter what.
Wow.
Wow, that's a pretty huge deal.
Yeah, so my thinking behind his tweet that came out last night, and again, I want to be careful how I put this, but he's got a massive customer base, and he's probably made a lot of money, and as he deserves whatever he's done if people have used a system and they've enjoyed using that system. But I think the concern is that it's a business, and for you to openly say, my business has failed, this no longer works, is a massive deal, right?
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
my feeling is that tweet is nothing more than to appease people who have subscribed. And I guess my personal view, and this is just my view, this is nobody else's view, but I think that if people have used iMod, they shouldn't seek a refund. I think that if you've paid, I think it's $20 or $10 for the system, if you've paid for it and you've used it and you've enjoyed it, just take your loss. You've used it, it's next to nothing, and just leave it there. But I don't think this guy can beat Supercell on this one, and I think the way forward is actually going to be fair play. What do you guys think about that?
It makes me very happy.
It makes me want to run through the streets and rejoice.
I want to run through fields of like daisies or something.
Let's do it holding hands.
Yes. Naked?
Can I
Yes.
come? I'm a tree. I
No,
come.
that's amazing. I mean, I would really love for the community, for all of us just to come together and play the game. It's been divided for so long and it's been so hateful and it's really tiring.
Absolutely.
It
I
makes
think
me
that
sweat a little bit. Sorry, Blondie. I was just talking about sweat. I'm just really sweating. I don't know what's wrong with me. Must have been
like that
talking
all
about running through
day.
a field naked. Sorry, go
Welcome to
on.
my life.
no one gives me the giggles like you. I don't even know what it is.
Is it my funny squinty eyes?
It's the
red hair.
baton. It's
For
My
sure.
baton. Where's Vaughn then? What do you think of that? Vaughn?
It's interesting from a business standpoint. I think you've highlighted a few things there. He's probably made a ton of money on this thing. I mean, you got to figure. It would take 100,000 modders at $10, to make him a millionaire on this thing. And if he's now waving the white flag, that's an interesting perspective, because as you mentioned, what's he going to do with the money? I mean, does a guy make off and get to keep what is probably at least $1 million, and probably upwards of that? I'm probably thinking it's in the multiples.
Oh, well,
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's probably in the several 100,000 player base. I'm kind of curious on what's his next move. Does he openly shut up shop and say, or just disappear, or does he offer refunds, partial refunds? I mean, what's his next move on the business sense is very curious to me.
I would think he would go on to the next game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we kind of talked about it on the last podcast about how they may enforce the modding ban, and it sounds like they're doing application checksum checks to make sure that there's no client alteration that's gone on. And it sounds like that's how they originally got Xmod first, and then that's how they got iMod, because both of them operate by modifying the default client APK that gets downloaded to your device. And I think he's realized if he were to, he'll always need to modify that file in order to manipulate the game. And so by checking to make sure that if it's an authentic client or not, they've effectively won the war there. It brings up, I think there are still other opportunities for botting. I know that BoostBot works very differently. It uses an Android emulator, so you're actually running the default client and it manipulates the user interface. It simulates you clicking buttons on top of the user interface through the default client. So I think that's still a technical option, and no one that I've heard of has gotten banned through using BoostBot. But it does sound like anything that would involve application manipulation has been put down. And I think what Nadis is saying is he doesn't have a way, and there's probably is no way to manipulate the client anymore without changing the file itself.
that was really interesting, and it did give me a nosebleed a little bit. So we're gonna try and think of an analogy to simplify what you've just said, and in case we've got new listeners to my one subscriber, Vaughn's IQ is 730. What is it? 700 and what?
Jesus. All right, let me use smaller words.
Okay, no, that be the case. I was thinking of an analogy there. So how about is this similar? And you interrupt me here if you think I'm going down the wrong path. Is this similar to me going into a dog shelter, dressed as a semi-dog, where, say, pre this update, the dog warden, if you like, was blind, and I could go in and steal dog food, and he wouldn't really notice as long as he stroked me and I had, that sounds really weird, as long as he stroked me and I had a furry head and ears that looked like a dog, I would pass. But now they've got some guy that can actually see, and he can see clearly that I'm not a dog, therefore I don't get any dog food.
I have no fucking idea what you just said.
Okay.
No, it's this. So Supercell pushes out, all right, let's make this simple. So Supercell distributes their client, which is the game that you download either in the Google Store or in the iOS App Store.
Yeah.
What Xmod and iMod did was to either modify that game file, or in the case of iMod, redistribute its own client with the mods baked in. So in both of those cases, you were no longer running the official client downloaded from Supercell. You were running now an alternative client that had the cheats and the cheat code built in. So what they're able to do is basically detect, without violating laws or privacy laws or anything like that, are you running the official client? Because you can basically do a fingerprint of an application, and if that fingerprint has changed, it's pretty easy to figure it out. And so I think that they're detecting, have you modified the official client on your device? And this is something that Andy and I talked about on the previous podcast as their preferred route, because it's probably the easiest one to do, and it's probably the legal one to do, and it doesn't involve a lot of infrastructure in order to detect this. So they're able to detect, has Xmod or iMod made you run an unofficial client? And if you have, they're able to pick that up and ban you. What I was talking about BoostBot is that it's a different kind of botting application in that it runs on an Android emulator. So basically it runs on a PC, and you can run an Android phone, the Android phone software environment, on your PC. And being an Android environment, you can go to the Google Store on your PC through this emulator, and you can download the Clash of Clans application, and you can run it. And you can actually play Clash of Clans and run every software that you could on Android on a PC. And what BoostBot does, from reading the forums, is that it's another application that runs as a Windows program beside this Android emulator, and it basically pushes the buttons on the screen for you, which is very, very different than modifying the code itself.
So that's going to be really hard to see anyway. If the game sees that it's being played, and actually the game in theory is being played, well, there's not really much you can do about it.
Yeah, they're going to have to get into, again, using smaller words here, they're going to have to get into behavior profiling of how do you play the game, how much time do you spend online. They could pick out, where on the screen are you clicking. I mean, if you click the same pixel every single time when you hit next, then that's obviously a bod. But you're going to have to get into much deeper analytics and profiling of not only, what application is that person running on the client side, and have they modified that application, but exactly what are they doing when they play the game. And that's a much deeper look into player profiling. It can be done, but it's riskier, it's harder to get right, and it's much more expensive and much more extensive when you start profiling not the application that they're running, but how they're actually touching and playing the game.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I do feel kind of cynical towards Supercell, and this is just a little bit thinking about their business plan and the timing of their mass ban and the only taking action now. Modding's been 2 years? Has it been 2 years? So it originally started off with some airplane mode where people would flick on the disconnect from the router or whatever. Then it went to the actual application via jailbreak. Then it went non-jailbreak. So they released Clash Royale 6 months ago. Then they slammed the hammer down on Clash of Clans. I don't know. And they released the bowler.
It's the bowler.
And what would you say Vaughn looks like? We don't know what Vaughn looks like. We've never seen him.
I don't know, but I want to know what Vaughn looks like.
Yeah.
Me
Vaughn,
too.
How would you
Send
describe
us a
yourself?
picture.
I'm a pasty white bowler.
That's
So we're all
So you-
pasty white here.
So you
Let's
have
get that
pointy
straight.
ears?
A little? No, I don't know. I'd have to look. I don't know about the ears, but we'll do a video podcast one day. How's that?
yes, we should. And
Yeah!
I think Vaughn's going to be he's about 6'2",
Chiseled,
really, really dark
long,
hair.
unkempt hair.
Yeah, like
A beard?
Yes, how much facial hair?
Oh my God, you guys are so all wrong. It's hilarious. But,
Sorry.
we'll leave this for another day.
we're affecting Vaughn's IQ here. It's like affecting. We're damaging him. He's gonna catch whatever we have.
No, you're botting. You know, you walked into the animal shelter, and botting analogy made me dumber. So I don't know how to recover from that.
But to be fair, I think that was pretty good. And Blondie and Bella didn't get a chance to respond to that. Did you understand what I meant when I was talking about the dog walking into the dog shelter dressed up as a human dressed up as a dog?
Well, my mind started to wander.
Oh, okay.
I was watching my base get wrecked.
Okay.
I was. They took 4 tries. I was like, I was into it.
Oh, I'm glad I put the effort into creating that, and it made me sweat even more.
I can't wait to listen back when you play this, when you upload the video.
There's no way people are actually going to listen to this garbage.
We will listen.
Yeah, well, at least that's 4 people. 3.
Well, I heard that what you said about him waving the white flag, that it's a rumor, and that this new update works, and the main problem is Sims. There's too much data to hide. I know we can't use they can't use a private server unless you find a way to extract traps. I don't know. Basically, there's a lot of hope, I think, left out there.
I think
Hope for modding or hope?
Yeah, hope for modding, yeah.
I actually think that people will always find a workaround, but I think it's an ongoing thing. I don't know, I just think people should give up now,
They're not, is all I was saying. They sound very much like they're not giving up.
Yeah.
But I think the point of, they're giving you one shot. I mean, it's 2 strikes and you're out. So the first one's a 14-day ban and the next one's a permanent ban. So I know there's been a lot of people out there probing to see, are they really serious about this? And I know there's, just anecdotally people that have been running the bots and the mods, just trying to figure it out. But now that's 1 strike. So anything else, you can't get it wrong again or you're gone. And, that's an interesting perspective that they brought into the game. And I think it raises the stakes that these people are, going to, if you're going to continue on with modding, you're really taking a brinksmanship type approach to where you're either going to mod or you're just going to quit the game because you're going to get banned permanently and you're going to give it up. I mean, is it that important to you? And the question I have is, do you hate the game that much as it is? And I think, the question for me is, and I brought this up on the last podcast, is Supercell going to steal some of the modding ideas that actually made the game a little bit easier to play? Matchmaking, for example, on farming has been, is basically a slot machine. And, how long do you have to sit there and press next and, spin the wheels on the slot machine until you find an attackable base? And since they forced you to, build a full army now, and you can't farm on the cheap, and you have to dedicate time to this. For a lot of people, that ruined the game play experience, and so I think the modding, especially with the multiplayer, solved some of the inherent flaws in the game design. And you take that away, you're left. Some people would say you're left with a game that's a lot less enjoyable. From a player experience. So, now that they've, wielded the ban hammer pretty severely, are they going to go back and address some of the underlying game design flaws that modding was designed to fix? And the other one I hear talked about pretty significantly is account switching. Apparently in the mods, you could load up several account credentials and switch back and forth pretty easily. And now you've either got to have 1 device per base, or you've got to go into Game Center or Google Play and log out manually every time you need to switch bases. And Bella, you have multiple bases. Do you find that to be a pain? And do you think that's something where, perhaps if they made it easier in the client to run multiple bases, would that be appealing to you?
I'm on Android, and it's easy to switch accounts. It takes me 5 seconds or less. Very easy. I just type in a few letters and okay, and it goes. It switches from in-game, It's
Yeah, I can tell you the iOS experience because I've been doing it a long time. Is that you have to go into your settings, you have to log out of Game Center,
it's
you have to
definitely an
input the
issue.
new password, you have to input the new credentials, and then
Yeah.
you have to launch Game Center,
No.
and then you have to launch Clash of Clans. And
I
so
would
if you're going
not
to
be doing
donate,
that.
if you're going to donate a troop from one base to another on the same device, I mean, you're looking at a lot of keystrokes and a minute to do it. It becomes a pain.
You would have to have multiple devices, otherwise it wouldn't work efficiently.
Well, there'll be a ton of dead bases anyway, so you won't have to press next too often. One thing that did make me laugh, I'm in a lot of mod chats as well, Bella, and some of the guys, there was in the UK, there's a thing called an ASBO. Do you know what an ASBO is?
No.
Okay, well, it's an antisocial behaviour order, and what that means is if you're hanging around street corners, and this is aimed at children here, well, and you'll see where this is going in a second. This isn't another kind of off tangent, off piece type experience. This is actually going to go somewhere. So if you're a little toe rag and you're messing around and you end up doing loads of antisocial behaviour, you can get something that's called in this country, it was called an antisocial behaviour order, which is an ASBO. Anyway, what that means is it can prevent you and ban you from doing things or put a civil law in place so that you can't do certain things, right?
What kind of things?
Well, things like, so you'd have kids hanging around maybe estates here and they'd be ripping around in mopeds or, harassing people or, maybe in certain areas where they're maybe selling drugs, but you can't prove they're selling drugs.
Hooligans.
So
Loitering.
Yeah, whatever.
Yes. But anyway, they get a badge of honour. It's not a badge of honour. It is actually, it's an ASBO, so it's seen as a criminal offence, goes on your record. So whenever the police stop you and do a check, and you've got an ASBO, if you breach that ASBO, you can be arrested, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where I'm going with this, I'll eventually get there. You had people get banned in the mod community, and all of a sudden it became quite cool to be banned. So I had a ton of guys actively try and get banned. So they were actually sending Supercell screenshots of their bases while they're modding, and they modded some famous YouTubers. And they sent these screenshots, and they actively went out to get banned, to push Supercell to see if they could test the limits. A lot of these guys were going to quit anyway, but they just wanted to see what happened. But it did make me laugh when they eventually got banned, and they all changed their line status or their GME status, so it would have their name, and then in brackets beside it would say banned. So they're all walking around with
a badge of honour.
Yeah. Do you see what I mean? So can you see how all of a sudden in that community it's like, do you know what? I've been banned. Have you got the T-shirt?
Yeah, that girl I was asking, when you were asking questions, I was asking her questions, and she said she has 5 accounts banned, and she laughs like she's very proud.
It's crazy.
And then someone calls her a noob.
It's like rebels, like check me out. I've been banned.
Thanks for joining me, guys. Take care. Hi.